Hello everyone, welcome back to E20 Zone TV. It is raging hot in the UK today, I must admit. It's been hot over the last few days, unbearable, but the show must go on. I am joined by the man in the middle with no face, West Ham Online. How you doing, man?
Very good. I've not been on the E20 Zone TV for a while. Obviously, we've done the spaces, but it's good to return to the YouTube scene with hopefully a more sane audience.
Yeah, I agree, mate. And Lucas, 8 o'clock in the morning, but you still carry on, son?
Yeah, I've got nothing else better to do. We got a solid night's sleep. Got to get some things done, but yeah, I'd have to agree with West Ham Online. This should be a more casual and calm space.
Yeah, definitely. Please, Woosa, please. That's what I'm going to say on that. Let's talk about transfers, but that is why we are here, right? Well, West Ham Online, I'm going to let you take the floor here. Last night, it emerged that Broja's going to America, Lucas's native land, and we're going for Scamacca, I think his name is, if I've not butchered that up. Explain to us, please, mate.
Yeah, that update did come out last night, which was a bit of a shock of an update to see because I thought he was nailed on going to PSG. And I remember X earlier in the window saying that him moving to us is unlikely because he wants to stay in Italy, although obviously PSG isn't in Italy, which completely contradicts that. But there was another update this morning saying I think PSG are still in for the player and we're still going to try and get that offer in, I think, for Broja, but we've got to make it quick because he'll be on a plane as soon as possible. So I think the main target at the moment will still be Broja, but Scamacca is definitely the better player at this moment in time. There's no doubt about that. And I'd be happy with either player, personally.
I'm not convinced on Broja. I really ain't. Me, personally, I feel at least £30 million a lot of money for someone who's only had an okay season, in my opinion. Lucas, what did you make of that link last night? We might be getting a Italian.
Yeah, our track record with Italian strikers isn't too great, except for the one and only, but that's long gone. Yeah, it was a bit of a confusing one because I didn't think Broja would be going to the U.S. at any point during their preseason tour, and then that update to come out was a bit of a shock. But I'd have to agree, but then kind of go off a little bit on Scamacca. I definitely think he is the better player than Broja right now. But after watching some videos, I'm not necessarily convinced that he would be the best player for our style, but I don't think he'd be a terrible player for us. I think if we're betting on a player, I think Broja is probably the safest option, but again, we have no idea what's about to happen. And like we just talked about, Scamacca seems a bit unlikely given his preferences. But I like the player a lot. He's got a lot to offer. His potential's good.
It makes no sense. It's just come completely out of nowhere. It's like another transfer that's come completely out of nowhere. Literally, what's the fee West Ham Online? Is it like 40 million plus 7 million add-ons or something, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what the Italian journalists are saying anyway. But I think that's a bit. I think people are starting to jump the gun because obviously if someone gets this story right, their name will skyrocket. But I reckon that will be roughly the fee if we get him over the line. And I just wanted to quickly say as well, I completely agree with what Lucas just said. I think Broja completely suits our system, bar his a lack of awareness in terms of pass selection at times in the final third. But I think attribute-wise, he suits our system. Moyes obviously likes him, and I'm not surprised because he's looked like prime R9 every time we've played him. But yeah, Scamacca is definitely a marquee player. Obviously, he's not linked with loads of great teams for no reason. But I'm a bit worried, like Lucas, and I've not watched the player enough, but I'm a bit worried about how he'd fully suit our system. Obviously, we can slightly alter the system, but I think that Broja suits it more.
For me, when I hear what you're saying with Broja, yeah, listen, I'm not saying Broja's rubbish. Don't get me wrong, but I look at him and I think £30 million for a person who's had an okay season. It's not exactly like filling me with like optimism. Do you know what I mean? Like when I look at the Italian lad, he had 36 games last year, scored 16 goals in a very defensive league, and I just don't understand why people would turn their nose up at that man for what? I don't get it.
Well, yeah, I think the one thing, obviously, I'm not saying he's like Haller, but Haller had very similar sort of stats. I'd say in an easier league, in Bundesliga, but it can be argued either way. And obviously, he was completely not suited for us. So I think we've obviously had a lot of time to decide what sort of striker we want. There should be no excuses on that behalf because we've had 18 months plus to do so.
I agree.
So if Broja's the one who Moyes thinks will suit the system, and we've got to remember he's only 20, so he's only going to improve, then that's the player we should be probably going for. If Warburton agrees, that makes it even better because two good talent ID people, in my opinion, in Moyes and Warburton, agreeing on that, would suggest that he would suit it.
Lucas, Broja's in your native land, isn't he?
Not in my native land. I know Everton and Arsenal are in my area right now currently, which I don't know how I feel about that. Makes me feel a little disgusting, but we'll get through.
But what do you make of this with Broja, mate? Honestly, because me and you spoke about Broja quite a lot, doing the spaces, doing this game and all that. And for me, I look at Broja and I understand what West Ham Online's saying. Don't get me wrong. He's young. He's going to improve. But we don't need potential. We need someone who's ready-made, surely.
Yeah, I said this yesterday. I think I mentioned it in the space and I tweeted about it. Like I was just saying with Scamacca and Broja, like, I don't necessarily think Broja is a great player right now. I think he could be good, but the most important part is he fits the piece in the puzzle instead of being the main component of a project, which it's almost kind of like the Ronaldo situation in United last season where yes, Ronaldo scored 18 goals. He had like 21 goal contributions, but United were quite shit because all they did was play through him and they had no different way of playing. With Broja, not only does he step in, fit the system, and his work rate is it's gonna be seamless. Like he does have the potential to lift us up a little bit more, as with Scamacca. He could do that, but it's more of a risk. And while I do think Scamacca has more ability actually than Broja, I think Broja is not only the safest bet, but he fits our system quite well. And I'll be honest, I don't think I've seen, and I could be going out on a limb on this, I don't think I've seen a striker quite as good at tackling as Broja since I've been watching football. And it's a bit weird, and I think Moyes definitely fancies that a lot. And my last thing, I only want Scamacca if he keeps the 91 number when he comes over, because that would be absolutely bastardly of him.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I'm just not convinced. I just think West Ham are. I actually think Broja is the smokescreen for the Italian. Like it just seems like you go for Broja. And let's be honest, as fans, no one knew Broja a year ago. No, and there's no way David Moyes and his team have scouted this geezer because, like, no one knew him. No one knew him. I can see him scouting like Scamacca. I can imagine that. But I can say, like, they've gone to Italy. They've got scouts in Italy. I don't see people going to Southampton and scouting this geezer. And for how much that we want to pay for him, £30 million, quite a lot, considering this man's not ready-made. He's good, but he's not.
But you could also say the same with Scamacca, and I think this is a valid point. You both can correct me if I'm wrong, but as long as I've been watching football, excluding defenders, Italian players and Serie A players have just not made good leaps to the Premier League. Not many.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the biggest risk. And I know what you just said is it's a solid point that no one's ever heard of him. But at the end of the day, whoever takes the first gamble, the first risk, and could end up being the smartest person in the room. And sometimes you just gotta be the one to gamble. And he's been in the Premier League for a year. He did all right at Southampton, but we also got to remember Southampton created next to nothing. They really only had one creative outlet, maybe two, if you count Kyle Walker-Peters along with Ward-Prowse. So, I mean, if you put Broja in this squad with Fornals, Benrahma, Antonio to some extent with his little creativity, Bowen, Rice, Lanzini, Cresswell, hopefully, if he ever comes back, and Sufal. I mean, the possibilities, in my opinion, are endless for Broja to succeed in our team.
The thing is with it is that when I look at sort of the smokescreen side of things, I just don't see West Ham, like, it took West Ham 18 months to find a striker. And now people are telling me that we're going to go for an academy player from Chelsea. Whom, let's be honest, no one heard of, no one really knew. I can understand it with the Scamacca deal. It's a lot of money. But I keep seeing this thing where I'm going to lead on to now, is that basically everyone's sort of shit scared to go out and sign a top player again because of Haller and Anderson. West Ham Online, that we've surely got to get over that now, innit? It's been 2 years or 3 years since that's happened, surely.
Yeah, I see what you're saying on that point. We certainly do need to get over that. And if we want to move forward, we need to look to target top players. But on Broja, I personally think coaching in the Premier League and in the top level of football is going further every day. I feel like the level of coaching in the Premier League is fantastic. I think we're reaching a point where coaches aren't judging how they buy players just on how they've done in the last 6 or 7 months, which is what coaches used to do more a couple of seasons ago, in my opinion, looking back at the transfers. And to give some examples, Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, he bought Ramsdale, who was arguably the worst keeper in the league the year before, for 25 million. Arsenal fans were in uproar. But the reason why Arteta actually picked Ramsdale as the keeper, as the successor to Leno, is because of the attributes that he saw beyond his form, which was his kicking, his technical attributes playing out from the back, and his overall distribution. He knew that he had weaknesses, but it's about picking the right tools to fit the puzzle, the right pieces, like what Lucas said. And Moyes' system is very, particular in what every player has to offer. Every player is different.
Simple yet particular.
Yeah. Every winger offers something different. Fornals' role is very different to Bowen, despite both being wide players in the system. So I think Broja suits the puzzle. And if we want to move forward, we've got to keep up with that tactical element of how fast the Premier League is progressing in that way, in my opinion. So we can't make panic buys and we can't buy big names anymore and just hope that they succeed, which I believe happened a lot in the Pellegrini era, looking back at the signings.
Yeah, but isn't any transfer a risk? Like you can look at it that if we sign Broja and he doesn't hit the ground running that we all expect him to, that's 30 million that we could look at and go, cool, we could spend that 30 million elsewhere. Do you know what I mean? Then saying that, you've got the flip side of the coin, ain't you? If he does great, then it's a wonder signing. But
I get what you're saying, but I think there's a difference between a risk and a calculated risk. If we sign a player who hasn't been scouted heavily to suit the system just because he's known as a big name, then that's a risk that's not worked out and it wasn't calculated and it was just stupid. If we perfectly picked Broja because he suits the system, and we know he's a risk because of his age, how much we pay him, and because of the fact he only got 6 goals last season, and he ends up doing terribly, then you've only got yourself to question because you've factored in every decision and into your system. So that comes down to you, not only the player you've bought.
But wouldn't you say, though, and I'll bring Lucas in, but wouldn't you say, though, that Scamacca's been scouted? He must have been looked at. Like, Newman must have been looking at this geezer. Like, and if PSG are looking at this man, and other clubs are looking at this man, surely he's not a mug. He's not an Haller, is he? Let's be honest. He's got.
I believe we have scouted him. I definitely believe every player that we're looking at the moment have been scouted. But I also agree with Lucas in the fact that I think Broja suits the system more. There's a reason why he's all along been our number one target. And you don't pick your number one target because the number two target suits you more. You pick number one target because he's perfectly tailored to what you want to play, which is why I think we should go for Broja.
Mm. Lucas, who are we getting out of the two, in your opinion? Because it's looking like
if I had to pick, if I had to put my money on one, I think I'd still go after Broja just because from what we've heard so far, Scamacca, it does seem unlikely. I wouldn't say it's dead in the water, but you want to kind of avoid players like Scamacca, and not in a negative way, but like if someone says they don't want to move out of Italy, but they'll go to France, but not to England, it's not like the biggest red flag, but that to me is like, I don't want a player that doesn't want to be in a certain place. Not he doesn't want to be at West Ham, he just doesn't want to be like in another place, and that can that can affect your play, just mentally and emotionally.
Has he been linked with anyone in England?
No,
really. So how would he know what it'd be like? Do you know what I mean?
No, that's like, what I'm saying. Like, and that's too much of a wild card for me. As with Broja, he wants to stay in London. He's already said he wants to play for West Ham if the move were to go forward. And to me, if I had to put my money on one, it's going to be Broja. But it does seem that Chelsea may make it a little difficult. But we'll see. I mean, they just got Sterling in. They're looking at another attacking player, and I mean, for some odd reason, Kai Havertz is now their main striker / second striker along with Werner. So, but with Chelsea, they don't really need Broja as a third option, even when it comes to the cup.
I've got to ask both of you this. Yeah, I've got to ask it before I move on. There's a comment there from Mitchell that I want to get to. Yeah, what would you do if we signed both of them?
I don't think it would be the smartest of decisions. I've got to be honest.
No,
we would have to completely change our system.
Because, well, would we really? Because if we sign both of them, we put Mikel Antonio on the wing, then that sort of covers the space, doesn't it? On that left hand. Left-hand side.
It all depends on what Broja is being pitched, because for all we know. We've all been saying we want a striker as good as Antonio, if not better. There's another side of the West Ham Twitter that doesn't think Broja is good enough to start right away or make the same impact as Antonio. It all depends on the pitch that he's being given. Like, for me personally, I want Broja to come in and just be solid competition. I don't know if he's being pitched to start, push Antonio.
Well, he's a backup, isn't he, Lucas? He's a backup, isn't he?
That's what I would assume. But for all we know, they could be telling him something different, and then we get blindsided.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. I think he's a backup, but if he comes in and does it, then who are we to judge? And listen, if he comes in and scores 15 goals, then I will eat humble pie and do it live on air.
Yeah, I definitely disagree with what Eastside Views is saying in the chat. One about Antonio being worse than Broja. And I do think Broja does want to join. I don't think it's just spouting rubbish. I think Broja, if he's not offered the chance at Chelsea, would absolutely leap at the chance to come to us.
I think he would, but the only fear I do have of all of this is Everton. I do. I think Lampard has the pulling power more than Moyes. I think if he's worked with Lampard, which he has, Broja, then let's be honest, if he goes to Everton, he's a starter.
The only thing with that is, don't get me wrong, I would like Broja mostly because he's Moyes' number one target. But if he wants to go to Everton instead of West Ham, I don't want a player like that.
Oh, that's
Everton are fucking shit.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah,
100%. Right, let's get to this comment here. Just a quick one. Did you see that we might test the water for David Rahm? West Ham Online. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I did see that this morning on X's update, and as I said last night, I think when he played against England, he was playing up against Saka and Bowen. I thought he was fantastic. I've only watched him twice, and that was one of the occasions. But I think it would take a 33 roughly million fee to get him into West Ham. Do I see that? Do I see us paying that for a left back? No chance. I think if we test the water, it'll be a 22 million bid, 11 short of valuation, and we won't return with another offer. So until anything looks likely with that, I'm not going to believe anything regarding a higher price for a left back.
See,
Remember,
David says 35 mil.
Yeah, I reckon it'll be 33, 35. And we've not paid, the most we've paid for a left back in the last decade, we've only spent about 10 million combined on left backs. Yeah. So I certainly can't see that happening.
I don't know though, West Ham Online. He's a good player, and let's be honest, the market has changed since back then. Everything's dearer now. Let's be honest, we're going for a 20-year-old of 30 million. Now, if you said that to me 10 years ago, you'd be mad. £30 million would have got you a top quality centre forward 10 years ago. Do you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I look at Ram. I think Ram, that's the sort of player West Ham needs to be going for. If we're going to be competing at the top end of the league, and we're going for Europe, and we're going for this, we're going for that, and we're going to try and be one of these big hitters, we need big players. And I just think Ram is the sort of player West Ham need. I don't think. I had a little mini debate on Twitter the other day about Luca Pellegrini, and I look at him and I think he's fourth choice for Juventus, and why are we going for someone who's fourth choice?
I get what you're saying, but I made a thread on it the other day about Juventus. Their treatment of young players has been abysmal. Dejan Kulusevski couldn't even get on the bench at times for Juventus, and we've all seen how good he is. Same for Bentancur. Christian Romero, Tottenham centre-half, they sold for 15 million in favour for two players who were 35 plus. Who else was it at Juventus? Basically, they've had 6 or 7 names that I saw, young players who have gone on and done really well, who just got absolutely no chance at Juventus in favour of nostalgia. So I really think Juventus are in a bad situation with them. First of all, their talent ID. Second of all, their nostalgia towards old players. They even got Di Maria, who's 34 the other day on a 1-year deal. I mean, what is the point?
Yeah, I agree. Lucas, David Ram.
I think, again, it's almost kind of Ram is another situation with me where I'm kind of in agreement with everyone. I think Ram is going to be a really, really good player, and he's shown some very bright play. And I think he is the type of left back we need to get to push on for the future. But it'd be a weird one because, again, you don't want to kind of unsettle or blindside certain players with Ram. If we buy him, does he come in and start right away? Does he compete? Because in my opinion, I think Ram is better than Cresswell. And I don't think that's outrageous to say, but I mean, I do care about Aaron Cresswell, even though the past couple months I still have held a huge grudge against him, and I'm not happy with him until the season starts. But you just it's one of those things. If you get Ram, does he come in and start right away? What kind of promises are we making him? It really all depends on how it settles the dressing room and all that. But I think when I heard the news that we were going to test the waters, I was super excited because I've been kind of in the minority of when it comes to our priority in positions. I've been saying for quite some time now, I think left back has been our highest priority because I think we can get away with our striker problem we have currently. But just left back is too important for me.
I think a left back is majorly important this year. I think West Ham Online. We've discussed this over the last year.
Striker is a close second, but I just cannot ignore the hole at left back.
100%, mate. Listen, I remember talking to you boys and with Athers and Walshy and all that last year, and we've all said a left back is a major problem at West Ham. When teams play West Ham, they attack that left hand side because they know he can't deal with pace. So. It's a major problem there. I think Ram is a good signing, a great signing, I think. But whether he costs, But I just think West Ham, if they're going to do something this year, right, we need to start spending some dough. Like, we haven't spent really any money for the last 4 years, like decent money. Like, you had the Haller and Anderson situation. I get that, but this is a new era at West Ham, isn't it? Like, West Ham should be going out and going, right, we need a left back. Who's available? Ram, 30 million. Drop a £30 million bid in there, take him out of Hoffenheim. Do you know what I mean? That's what West Ham should be doing, and it just seems like to me that we're still worried about Haller and Anderson, but we've saved money and we've earned money out of Jared Bowen, Kafal, Souček, Dawson, but no one will mention that because they're actually really good signings. Do you know what I'm saying? And they was cheap, so it balances. Like, transfers balance themselves out, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
do you know what I'm saying? West Ham Online.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I just really can't see. I think Moyes likes Creswell a lot, and I really can't see, even when we pay 30+ million for a left back, if that was to happen, Moyes completely going, yeah, you're going to be our first choice to
restart. If Moyes signs a left back, whoever it is, does Cresswell be your starter, or is it the new left back?
Not if we start. Not if we pay. If we sign that Realm, there's no way Cresswell should be starting. And I don't mind Cresswell. I think he's been a little bit overly criticised right now, and obviously a lot of it's to do with the Europa incident. But I think on the ball he's very good. One of the better left backs in the league. He's poor defensively at times in terms of his concentration, but as I say, I think even if we signed a 30 million left back, I think first game of the season against Man City, I reckon Cresswell would still be starting.
Yeah, which is not right in my opinion. But we will move on from left back, and we will talk about Sarr. You know him, Watford man. He actually plays on the left at Rennes. Someone put it up last night, and I was looking at the clips and thinking, you know what? I remember that geezer at Rennes. Lucas. Is Sarr the man for you?
The man. He definitely would not be bad to have in rotation, that's for sure. Does he come in and start right away? He could make a case. Unlikely, I would say, to off the jump to start right away, but I definitely think he could join that conversation. But yeah, I've always rated Ismaïla Sarr. I've never even watched him at Rennes, to be perfectly honest with you. I've only seen him at Watford, and even at Watford, I've liked what I've seen because we talked about last night in the space. I mean, if you can look good under Roy Hodgson, that's a fucking miracle.
100%.
And I think Ismaïla Sarr would just bring such another great dynamic to the squad, especially in a place that we're lacking with pace. Because if we're being honest, how many players in our squad offer game-changing pace? Bowen, but that's even an argument because he's more like a burst of speed. Kind of like, I'm not comparing him to Messi, but like the way Messi moves, he just bursts off the ball. He's not really fast over kilometers, as you lot would say. But yeah, he just offers something we don't have: blistering pace, good dribbling ability, and he's got a cracker of a leg on him. And he's not the best finisher in the world, but he's got a thundering shot on him, which could serve us. But yeah, just he'd bring a good dynamic and brilliant rotation to the squad. Could you imagine that guy playing in Europa Conference League?
Do you know what, mate? I can imagine him playing right now on the left, ahead of Benny. And listen, I like Benny, right? And I will back Benny up to a point. But if Ismaïla Sarr comes in for West Ham, I want Sarr starting ahead of Benny.
Oh yeah,
we just need pace 100%. So bad because really, there's Antonio.
What we need,
Bowen. That's it.
It's ball carriers. That's what we need. We need. When we had Lingard here a few years ago, when he picked the ball up and just drove with the ball up the pitch, we was phenomenally good. Yeah. Right, and I think Sarr is the man for that. He can pick the ball up and he can just let loose, basically. And I think Bowen does it to a point, but Bowen is more. He comes infield. Rather than goes down
and
the
with
side.
Me, with Sarr, I don't think Sarr is necessarily the best passer of the ball, but he does have a decent cutback on him, which at the end of the day, if I have a winger that's fast as hell, great dribbler. I need him to carry the ball up the field. I don't really need him to be the savviest passer of the ball. If he can get to the byline, cut the ball back to the open man, that's really all I can ask for, because that's the style of football we play, and I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. West Ham Online, Sarr, yes or no, man?
Sarr's always been a really confusing player for me. Would I take him? Definitely. But he has so much untapped potential. I remember him first season at Watford. He was fantastic. First season at Watford, I thought, wow, this guy's going to be a player. He won't be at Watford too long. And he sort of regressed since, which I will say a lot of that is probably because Watford have had defensive managers. A lot of them haven't even played wide formations.
Yeah, but they've had like six managers, I think.
Like 16 of them.
Yeah. I think they've had like 6 managers in his time since he's been there. So
yeah. So he's obviously had it hard at Watford in terms of, I don't know who sold him that move. His agent needs a real look at himself, but it wasn't the right one.
100%, mate. Because I'll be honest with you, I could not believe when he ended up at Watford. I could not believe it. Liverpool looked at him, Arsenal looked at him, Man United looked at him. There was teams in France looking at him, big teams in France.
Guaranteed football does wonders.
And I just could not believe that he got that move, like to Watford of all the teams, like a newly promoted side, I think it was. So I don't know with Sarr, but I will say this: I do rate Sarr. I always have, and I think if we get the Rennes Sarr, then we have got a quality player on our hands. Trust me. If we get the Watford Sarr, then we got a bag of like shite, basically, and not very good. So
the defensive work rate should already be there after playing for fucking Hodgson. Honestly,
yeah. I think he's capable. Really, I do mean that.
But what I meant by him being, I've always found him as a weird player is I can't decide whether I think he's really good technically or really poor technically, and I'm not going to liken him to Mikel Antonio because he's certainly better than that technically. But Sarr's a strong dribbler. He can drive with the ball. He can go in and out. But then I just see him sometimes with poor short passing. He'll hit a shot off his shin, which will go 50 yards wide. Yeah. He's a really strange player. And I think I'd say our coaches could make him a lot better, like what they did with Bowen. So I think, I would take him, but I'm not sure just how good he'd be.
Let me ask you this before we sort of come towards the end. You got Jesse Lingard who wants to sign, and you got Sarr. Who you picking?
Lingard, personally, I can't. As much as Lingard's being a bit of a prat right now, I can't forget what Lingard done for us. And I'm not a massive advocate for Sarr. As I said, I'd take him. I think he has a lot of untapped potential, but I think Lingard's the less risky move. And with all the other signings we're looking to make, it would also mean it would free us up with some extra money to make possibly a left-back signing, like we say. So I'd rather do 2 positions than 1. And for that reason, I think Lingard's got to be the move as long as he lowers his wage demands.
Lucas?
I've said and I've tweeted I will not mention this player's name again, who has just been mentioned. So I will refer to him in code.
Player A.
for my own sanity and mental health, as I've advocated for this guy for God knows how long, and he's made me look like an absolute idiot. Yeah. So I haven't been happy about that. Oh, and I saw a little nasty rumor when I woke up today. Oh, I was not happy about it. So we all know about Wayne Rooney to DC United, and the Sun came out. Oh, I'm telling you, nastiest rumor I've ever seen. On one hand, I was like, oh, that's just disgusting. And then the other, I was like, oh, quite cool. The Sun came out and said that Wayne Rooney is apparently trying to get, so said, player A and Ravel.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It would not surprise me.
And don't get me wrong, they are technically my local, but I don't support them at all. But
can I just say about Lingard after you, Lucas? You finished, and I've got a strong point to make about that, man.
Basically, to answer your question, player A, I still would have to go with just because of the familiarity, and what I know he offers, and it's a safer move, and I always just play it safe, unless I'm gambling, of course.
Don't gamble, kids. That's
Yes,
what I say.
but I would have to go with player A, whose name I will not say until he's holding the shirt.
Before West Ham Online comes in with his strong opinion, I've come to the end of my tether with Jesse Lingard, if I'm being honest. And I think Sarr wants to sign for West Ham.
And I said July 11th, if he's not here, I'm done. I will not stress over him anymore. As I start to stress now, as I talk, I will not mention his name.
100%. So for me, Sarr would be the man for me. Someone said to me about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, I think it was, when Jesse Lingard's kept about his contract and everything. And the words the person said to me, who I won't name, said Jesse Lingard's seeing what ambition West Ham have got with signings. That was his words that my friend said. And it does sort of sum up with what's going on at West Ham at present. West Ham are going in for these big names, looking like they're making big moves. And that would sway into what he's saying about Jesse Lingard's thought on ambition. Now, if that is true, because let's be honest, it's only hearsay, it's only what I've heard. Yeah. Then I don't want Jesse Lingard at West Ham, in my opinion. Not for me. Because you should want to come to West Ham to wear the shirt and not seeing what fucking players we're signing. Do you know what I'm saying?
And he's not in position to be saying those kind of things or wanting those kind of things, in my opinion.
Exactly that, mate. So, Ismaïla Sarr for me. West Ham Online.
What I just wanted to say, when Lingard was here in those 6 months, bar the fact we couldn't be in the ground, vibes-wise and how much I enjoyed it, I'd say that was my favourite, possibly 6 months of supporting West Ham for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And Lingard looked like he was loving it. I thought we had the best squad, morale in the league. Everyone looked like they were loving it. Lingard, I think what I want to say really is I think Lingard's a really strange person. All he did was came and looked like he was loving it, rejected the chance to come back, and all he's done is slag Man United off while he was at the club and barely played and barely looked asked. Looked like he was loving football at us, and suddenly he doesn't really want to, by the looks of it, play football much anymore. I just think he's really strange, and at this point, I think he probably should go to America and stick to the TikToks because I think he's got no interest in football. I think he's got something wrong with him, and he becomes more unlikable by the minute for me.
Yeah, I've got to sort of slightly agree with you on that. I think, does he really love football anymore? And do we need a sort of player who's going to just come there for the paycheck? Do you know what I mean? But yeah,
he better not go to DC United because I will be the type of guy to go to the match and just slag him off all 90 minutes.
In all fairness, James, ain't that what Rice is doing with his contract, waiting to see what the club's ambition is? The difference is, Happy, yeah, and I understand what you're saying there, is that Declan Rice has earned the right to do that. Jesse Lingard hasn't.
And he's not slagging
also,
by any means.
Rice continues to play well whilst wanting some ambition. He continues to look happy. Lingard can't be asked to play. All he did was slag Man United off. And now he's just gone to dance in America for 2 weeks and meet Mickey Mouse and co.
Yeah. Well, before we go, we're going to wrap it up soon. What is the ideal window for you, for both of you? I'm going to ask this to, and what would be a sort of 8, 9, 10 out of 10 window, in your opinion? I'll start off with you, West Ham Online. We've signed a guard, we've signed Areola, we've signed Downs. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many more do we need to sign to make it probably the best window in West Ham's history?
Well, so far, I've been very happy with our business so far in terms of who we bought. I really like Gerd, as I've mentioned a lot of times. Areola I wanted. I presume that would happen anyway, but yeah, I'm happy with him. And Flynn Downs is a good young player, so I'm happy with him too. To make the window even better, we a million % need a striker, 1,000,000%, and that's got to be Broja or Scamacca. If it's not them two, then it is to be some amazing guy we've never heard of. And then for me, we need another central midfielder either a centre midfielder or an attacking midfielder. I'm not too bothered. I don't expect the club to get both because I'll be honest, at that point, I think I'm being unfair and reaching, unless it's Lingard, of course. So I want to sign Onana from Lille, who, by the looks of it, wants to join the club. Said this on Twitter yesterday. With all the top clubs' rebuilds moving forward, what you're consistently seeing is not only are they getting in people who are technically secure and press resistant, these teams are also maintaining height and physicality, and that's shown with the purchases of Rodri from Man City and Fabinho from Liverpool, and that's so that they don't get turned over by lesser teams and they win the physical battle as well as the tactical and on the floor battle. So Onana is perfect in every attribute for me, and I think we've got to go for him. 20 years old as well. And then finally a left back, whether that be someone who can at least compete with Creswell, if not exceed him, and that would be in the form of a Raum. But if we get Raum as well as the names I've mentioned, then I've got to admit that would be a borderline perfect window.
Yeah. Lucas.
A perfect window for me. Obviously, perfect would be like Broja or Scamacca 1, and then Raum, then Onana, and then maybe Sarr. But that we all know that's not gonna happen. But what I would be happy with, and I wouldn't be like raging or not dithering, just talking shit on Twitter. If we were able to get Broja or Scamacca in, that would be good because we need a striker. Obviously, we need, and this is a little contradictory, but again, this is just what I think is going to happen. I would rather us get a really good left back, but I just don't see it happening. So if we can just get some sort of left back cover like Pellegrini from Juventus, I think it'd be a very good signing. Just because Cresswell needs competition and we need depth somewhere because Masuaku clearly just doesn't cut it for us. And then it's another tough one because I can't see us spending, let's say, 40 million euros or whatever it is on Onana. What's my name? And then
Onana.
I'm telling you, if he comes to the bowl, that is going to be the greatest football song ever sung in a place. It really is. The unity is.
You're going to have to bring it back. We have to bring the song back out.
I'm telling you, I literally tweet it I tweet that video I made every chance I get. And Darmesh even mentioned it on his Sky Report the other day. Said it'd make a great song. I know he sees me. Shout out to him.
So what you're saying then?
But if we spend 40 million euros on Onana, I can't see us getting like a Ismaïla Sarr or Emmanuel Dennis, someone like that. I think if we were to get Onana, we'd probably keep Vlasic or Benrahma, whatever people prefer or are talking shit about. It doesn't really matter to me. But to answer your question, for me, a striker in Broja or Scamacca, some sort of left back cover, and Onana for me, I think that'd be a 9 out of 10 window. And I know the numbers that we're looking for in like 7-8 signings, what people want isn't there. But we are theoretically, or not even theoretically, factually, replacing what has left with more than upgraded quality.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to quickly reel through mine before I wrap this up because otherwise the battery's going to die. But I'm going to say a left back is majorly important for West Ham. Raum is the man for me. Pay the money. He's a top left back. He'll be our left back for the next 5-6 years. If we get Luca Pellegrini, I'm not convinced. I really ain't. But it will, as West Ham Online said earlier, Juve do let some talented youngsters go, so I could be proved wrong there. Onana is a must for me. I think, forget the name, the player himself is a powerhouse. And that's what West Ham need when he bullies in the middle of the park.
The song's going to be so pang.
Declan, for me, does do that, but he needs help. And some games, he doesn't get help. On the left-hand side, Sarr would be the man for me. I would get Sarr in for £20 million. I think it's a no-brainer. And up top, it's a toss of a coin for me. Do you go with a backup choice in Broja, who it will be a backup to Antonio, or do you go for Scamacca, who, let's be honest, if he comes in and he performs, he could be our first choice striker. Like, so it's a toss of a coin. It's what your personal preference is in that. For me, I think scoring 16 goals in Serie A in a defensive league for a very, let's be honest, not a very good side, and looking good and being touted for other teams, that has to be taken into account for me. So if we was to get them players in, that's a 10 out of 10 window for me. It's one of the best windows I've ever seen. I think if you take a player out and miss a player out of there, maybe it drops down to a 9. But at present, the window is looking pretty good. I've got to be honest. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there with that. I want to thank you, Lucas, for coming on, mate, for getting up in the morning and taking time out of your early start in the US of A. Thank you very much, man.
No problem. Anytime.
West Ham Online. Absolute pleasure, mate, to have you on, and we'll get you on again very, very soon.
No problem, no problem. Also, just wanted to say, for anybody who has Twitter, it's highly likely at some point again this week we will be doing a space over on there. So if you have Twitter, go on Fatboy Fever Twitter, and I'm sure that will pop up at some point.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. No Raz on Twitter, though. Like, very toxic in a minute. Do you know what I mean? I can't even say something about getting someone criticising me, 100%. But listen, please do like the video. It will go a long way. It will help me and the boys out greatly. And please do subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Who we signing? I don't know, if I'm being honest. Broja's gone to the USFA. Scamacca's in Italy. And Sarr's in Watford. Who are we getting? Only Moyes and the boys know. But whoever we get, we've got to back the boys. From me to you, Salah.